My name is Mulenga Chella from Africa. I was born in the nation called Zambia. In my last year of secondary education, I heard the Lord call me into ministry, and from that day onwards, I purposed to serve the Lord in full-time ministry as a minister. When I started leading that church, I saw my need of going to seminary. In my second year at seminary, our lecture was teaching us on surrendering to the will of God and leadership preparation. Our lecturer, in the midst of his lecture, pointed at me and said, God can even take this young man here, Mulenga, from here and send him off into prison the way he took Joseph into prison and prepare him for ministry. 10 months later, I met a man in my home nation, Zambia, and the man said he was a missionary helping orphans and widows in Tanzania. The man invited me to go with him to Tanzania and arrived in the nation of Tanzania. To my shock and surprise, police officers pounced on us. They said the man that I was traveling with, who said he was a missionary, was actually an international criminal. And the vehicle that he was driving, that I was riding on, was a car that he had stolen. Men inside that police lockup jumped on me, held my hands and legs, started searching me. They punched me, beat me up, and finally threw me into the toilet that had human excrement. And I cried. I said, Lord, why? Why have you allowed me to suffer like this after I've been seeking you and serving you faithfully? From there, I was taken into the men prison. African prisons are congested prisons. The prison that I was in was constructed to hold 1,500 men, but it now had 5,000 men. I am grateful to the Lord that during my time in prison, I had the privilege of preaching the word of God to men who had lived wicked lives as criminals. I preached the word of God to Muslims. I preached the word of God to men who had never been in church. And I'm grateful for the lives that the Lord saved and transformed. How did I get out of prison? The man who had deceived me and told me that he was a missionary and yet he was an international criminal was arrested with me. When the prison officer saw that he was sick, he called me into his office and said, Mulenga, we know that you are a genuine servant of God. And we know that this man who deceived you is a true criminal. We advise you that now that he's sick, leave him alone, don't help him. As I was reading the Bible, I came across Matthew chapter 5 verse 44, that even though I was wrongfully imprisoned for 2 years, God had given me a great opportunity in prison to love my enemy, to save my enemy, and to honor God by doing that. So as I continued helping this man, cleaning him, feeding him, I started saying to the Lord from the depth of my heart, I said, Lord Jesus, I love you. As I continue caring for this man, I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it as an expression of my love for you. Finally, on the day of judgment, he stood up, pointed at me and said, that man is an innocent man. He doesn't know anything about all my criminal activities. I simply carried him in the vehicle that I was driving as an ordinary passenger. And those words, the man I helped spoke in court, opened the door for me to be released, and he was convicted for 10 years. After coming out of prison, God opened the door for me to go to Baylor University, where I was given a scholarship and studied for my Master of Divinity and Doctor of Ministry. I am now ready with my family to go back to Africa.